You're listening to The Monetized Mom, the podcast that teaches moms of faith how to monetize their expertise online to create influence, impact, income, and more importantly, financial independence. I'm your host, Flo Alexander. Let's chat. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another podcast episode. I have another amazing guest on the podcast today, my friend Sadé Kelly, time management extraordinaire. We're going to be talking about how to balance, if that's even a thing, right? How to balance motherhood, business, all of our aspirations, our goals, responsibilities. How do we even have enough time in the day to do that? We're going to talk about that today. And so I'm excited to talk to Sadé because Sadé just became a new mom. And so I get to see how her perspective on time management has changed since I last did a live stream with her a few months ago before she became a mom. So Sadé, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to have you.
Thanks, Flo. I'm excited for this conversation.
Yes. So listen, the last time we had a conversation about time management and productivity, you were cooking. You were cooking. You had a bun in the oven, and now life has completely changed for you. It's been a few months into motherhood. So how has your perspective on time management, productivity, how has it changed, or has it changed at all?
It's definitely changed. I don't think there's a mother out there who it did not change for, but I actually started to see the shift in my pregnancy. So first trimester, I know for a lot of people, they're like down for the count. I really wasn't that bad. So I was still kind of working regularly. Second trimester, still kind of the same. But then when I got towards the end in the early third trimester, that's when I was like, nope, I cannot work as much as I used to work. I had to, and not only did I not have the energy, but also I started to realize like I do a coaching program. So like I had to think forward, all right, if I'm working with clients for X amount of months, I need to shut down at a certain time because I actually want to have a proper maternity leave, which is almost like unheard of sometimes for entrepreneurs, but I had to figure out what that would look like for myself. So that was one of the biggest changes in the beginning. And that made me think, okay, I'm going to definitely then probably have a lot of changes once the baby is born. And then once he was born, I gave myself so much grace. Like the first 2 weeks to a month, I didn't work at all. I truly took a leave. Like I wasn't checking emails. I wasn't doing any of that. And then about 6 weeks in, I was like, you know what? I need to have some type of goal for the day because it was eating away from me, as I can assure many ambitious women like feel. I was like, okay, I need something else to do besides taking care of my child, even though I love him and I love the process of being a mom and the whole journey, but we got to have things for ourselves. So one of the major things I was just giving myself every day was, okay, you need to just have a not strict, but I would say a daily success routine, like certain things that you do every day that make you feel good that don't have anything to do with your child. So that was first what I implemented. And I would just made sure I was doing that every day and I was tracking it because, you know, I'm a time management coach. I have to track things. I have to measure things. I like that type of stuff. And now what I see as I'm 3, almost 4 months postpartum, I've been working again for the last like month. I have to be very effective with the time I do have. So I've never been so stringent with my time. Like usually I had, like before the baby, I had maybe like an 8-hour workday, maybe 6 to 8 hour workday, like a normal person, sometimes even longer. Now my workday may be 4 hours. And that's like the most time I can get to like deeply focus. Cause right now, like me and my husband are full-time parents because we don't have any childcare yet. And we both work from home and we have our own businesses. So we have the flexibility, but at the same time, we have to be very diligent about the hours we do have. So my list for the day looks very, very specific. It's very much prioritized down to the T. So I know exactly what I'm going to be doing for the day. It's planned ahead. It's communicated amongst both of us, and then I can execute on it. And my days where I work have shifted a lot. So I used to work maybe 5, maybe even 6 days out of the week. Now it's down to like 3 days of calls and maybe like 4 days of actual work. And the other days I don't work at all, which is a huge shift. So those are some of the things I've done. Condensed my work hours, my access to me via calls has shortened, but I get way more done with the capacity I do have.
So I love seeing women going through the transition of becoming a mom. As someone who's obviously been a mom for a few years, like watching that transition of how your life changes and how you have to adapt It's such a beautiful thing. And I love how you have like literally shifted over these past few months into having to kind of manage around being a mom. So I'm just curious. I remember, was it Marie Kondo who was all about being tidy and stuff? And then she had a
Mhm.
baby and she was like, throw all of it out the window. So for you, did your theories, your strategies of time management stick when you became a mom? Or did you find that, hey, some of this stuff may not work in this stage of my life?
So my discipline stuck. Like that's something that I'm so glad I have. Like I could be very disciplined. One thing that I did shift, like I'm a big time blocker. Like I love to time block out things. I love to have like a nice visual. What I realized is my time blocks have to be very flexible in this like early baby stage. We have a very young child, so it's his schedule can be very unpredictable. Even when we try to put him on a schedule, at the end of the day, if he don't want to nap, he's not napping. Right? So figuring that out has made me shift my time blocks a lot. So I'm not so much of I need to get this done at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 a.m., or whatever it is, or 12 p.m. or whatever. It's more so like these are the 3 or 4 objectives for the day. They need to get done today. And if they get done right before midnight, then at least they got done, right? So I'm just trying to get these objectives done, and that's the goal. But the time I do it is very flexible. And even when I plan in meetings, I do my best to plan it in during a nap time. Like I'm doing this podcast, he is asleep, right? So like that way I don't have to feel the pressure of like, oh, what if he wakes up, or, I need to go tend to him or anything like that. It's more so I'm planning very much around his patterns, and they can be unpredictable, but you really have to just look for like the similarities. And that's something that I didn't really have to do before. Before I could just create a beautiful time block schedule and go about my day. And now I have to be very strategic with how I approach my day-to-day tasks. And I have to be very flexible and give myself a lot of grace. And one thing that was really hard for me, and I bet like every mom goes through this, is like the feeling of wanting to do more, but also knowing that you don't have the capacity. And like, there's a lot of friction there because you're in your head, you're like, this is all the things I used to be able to get done. These are the things I want to get done. I know I can get this done in like 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. But realistically, you probably need to add on an extra 4, maybe even 6, 8 weeks because you just don't have the same capacity you once had.
I love how you said being flexible with your day, because that's one of the things we actually talked about in one of the session that I had with you with the time blocking. You're like, just think like 3 things that you're going to do that day and have the flexibility within your day. And that was just helpful for me because, to your point, like you think that you can do more, you want to do more because you feel like you have the capacity to do more, and it's just like, no, sis, sit down. Do these do these 3 things within your day so that you can be productive, you can feel accomplished, but just being realistic with yourself. I think a lot of times we like to be superwoman and try to do it all, but in reality, like it's just not possible. Life is changing. I think we have to adapt to that.
Yeah, and I also like to remind myself that it's a season, because if I don't think about it like that, it'll probably drive me a little nuts because I really do like to achieve a lot. But I remind myself like this is just a season, right? Like, and in this season, what do you really want? And when you can determine what you really want, that's where your focus should go. And I know for me personally, I really want to raise like the best little boy that I can. And I'm really focused on that over like my business or other things. So I always like to like keep that in the forefront.
So let's talk about being ambitious. Like you mentioned that word, like you're very ambitious. You want to get things done. I'm the same way. I'm sure everyone who's listening to this podcast is ambitious. They're a high achiever, right? They've done things, successful things in their career. Do you find that there is a way to balance, and maybe balance isn't the word, those ambitions with responsibilities as wives, as moms, business owner, like, and if there is a way, how do we do it?
So I do believe in balance. The thing about balance, at least online, that I see is that when we think about balance in a technical standpoint, we think about it like everything needs to be equal, like 25, 25, 25, 25, or 50% and 50%. I don't like to see balance like that. So that's why sometimes I'll refer to it as harmony, or I've seen it referred to as work-life harmony. I like to think about, for me, how I define balance, at least with myself and with clients, is having things in a place where you feel good about them. So they may not all be equal, but they're at the right percentages for you, right? So only you can determine what that will look like. So I do think you can determine your own level of balance with all the responsibilities that you have, but you have to look at them like puzzle pieces. That's what I always explain to clients. I look at all the responsibilities I have and all the tasks and projects that I have to get done or that I want to get done as puzzle pieces. And if I can get these puzzle pieces into the right puzzle, and I know, Fo, you like puzzles, so you probably like this analogy, but if you can get all the puzzle pieces into a puzzle that lays out very nicely and works for you, then you'll always feel a sense of balance. But a lot of that starts with your mindset and cutting out all of the noise, right? Because as moms, as women, we're told that we should be the main provider for our kids. We got to be the nurturer, but then we also should follow our ambitions because we should be free and independent and be a woman, and we have all those rights now. But at the same time, you feel guilty if you're spending too much time in your business and away from your kids. So there's a lot of different conflicting messages and pressures that are put on us as women, especially as wives and moms and caregivers or whatever else we're doing. And I think that since the messages are so mixed, you have to determine what balance is going to look like for you. And once you can decide, okay, this is how much time I want to put towards my relationships. This is how much time I want to put towards my wellness. This is how much time I want to put towards my business. This is how much time I want to put towards hobbies or whatever else, or my kids, whatever else is important to you in your life. Then you can start to have your own parameters, and then that's what you follow. So if you can cut out all the noise from everybody else telling you what you should or should not be doing, I think then you can achieve balance. And I know we're going to get into how to do that tangibly, but strategically and I guess that's logically how I want you to think about it.
All right. So I like that approach. And yes, of course, I do love puzzles. I do like that approach of whatever your percentage is. It reminds me honestly of in the personal finance space, one of the things that, I've taught in the past is when it comes to your budget, you figure out what makes sense for you. There is no wrong or right way, but you figure out what makes sense to you. So it's obvious. It should be obvious that your balance and how you approach what's balanced for you depends on you and what you desire. So I really like that point. Now, speaking of creating that balance and having those tangible ways of doing it, to the woman who is a wife, a mom, who has a corporate career, climbing the career ladder, has a demanding career, how do you do it all? How do you manage having the household, having the career, and wanting to be ambitious outside of your career, maybe having your own business? And I know for you, that's kind of how you started, where you had your side hustles and you were working a full-time job. So what do you say to that woman who's in a similar position with all these responsibilities, who wants to be able to balance it all? Hey, if you're enjoying this episode, then I know you'll enjoy my weekly email series, The Monetized Mom. Not only will you be the first to know when new episodes drop, but you'll get exclusive content just like this, except in your inbox. To sign up, visit themonetizedmom.com/email. It's free, and as a podcast listener, I'll throw in a special gift. Visit themonetizedmom.com/email to join. Now let's get back to this episode.
So I love this question. This is the epitome of why I do what I do, because I know exactly how this woman feels. So I'll never forget, in the beginning of my career, I worked in advertising at an ad agency. I did branding and marketing for these huge Fortune 500 companies. And I thought that's what I always wanted to be doing. But quickly, I'm talking maybe a year or two in, I was yeah, this is not what I want to do long term. I want to have my own business. I don't enjoy I don't enjoy how unflexible this lifestyle is. And I just remember sitting down in a conference meeting, and we were working kind of late. I was with my team, and it probably was 6:30 or 7. And I was just sitting here for me, it was fine, because I was you know what? I want to be here. I want to be doing this job. I don't have anything else to really be doing, because I was in my young 20s. But I remember my boss, who was the head of our team, she had children and she was sitting here sharing with me like she's missing her daughter's recital and this is the stuff that like she has to sacrifice so that she can be killing at work and be on top and blah blah blah. And all I could think in my head was like, that's what you like value in this moment, like, you know, like you want to be missing stuff with your kids. I just couldn't get over that, and I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to be like that when I'm at that age or when I'm at that type of position. If I ever got to that position, which I knew I didn't even care to get to in someone else's business. But that day kind of changed everything for me because I was like, yeah, I need to figure this out. I need to figure out how I can do it all because I've been told so many times that I can't, that I refuse to believe that, because I truly believe like what your beliefs are is what formulates your life. So what I started doing was going after everything and anything that I wanted to try. So I started a blog called The Fire Inside, which is the name of my company now, which is a coaching company, but I started off as a personal development blog. I started doing networking events. I started an e-commerce store. Like I was doing all these different things on top of my day-to-day job while trying to manage my wellness and just personal life in general. And I got to a burnout spot. I did. And I learned a lot from there, but I also got really good at time management. And that became the thing people started to know me as. And that's why in 2020, I started coaching people on time management, because there was so many women coming to me like, well, you have 3 different businesses, you working full time, like you have a man, like how you doing all this? You got good friendships, like you seem like you have it all. And I was like, I truly am just really good with my time. And if you're good with your time, you can do anything. So to the woman who is struggling with this and she's trying to figure out how can I become a good stewardess of my time, the first thing I recommend is you have to plan your week ahead, and you have to treat this meeting and guard this meeting like it's a meeting with the most important person in your life, which is you anyway. So I always say like, plan this meeting with yourself on your calendar every week, guard it, make sure you show up for it. During this meeting, you're just planning for the week ahead. So that means you start off with a nice brain dump, which I love to do. And you can categorize your brain dump however you want. I like to do it by work and personal life. I make it really simple. And I write out everything I want to happen that week. And then from there, I look at those tasks and I make sure that they align with my goals. So a lot of times people are doing a lot of things. At least I see this with my clients. They come to me because they have like 70 things on their list, but none of it is tied to anything they actually want to achieve, like any of their dreams or their larger goals. It's always goals for somebody else. And I always find that very interesting, because that tells me that you're not doing things that fulfill you, which then means you're probably not doing things that make you happy, or you probably don't have a level of contentment in your life. So that's a big thing that people skip that I always recommend people do. After you've aligned your tasks with your goals, you want to make sure that you're prioritizing your tasks, meaning you're selecting what's the most urgent and important thing to do on each day, and you're not overloading yourself. And then you go ahead and you schedule those tasks in. And like I said, for me right now, it's the schedule is literally get these things done before the day ends. But if you have more flexibility, maybe if you have more childcare or you have a pretty set schedule, as much as you can, try to time block out the schedule and give yourself more time than you think you'll need, so that way you can always have a nice buffer. Another thing I recommend doing is investing in help. Like, let's not act like we're superwomen and we can do it all on our own, because it's just simply not true. Like, investing in help can mean, hiring someone to cook for you, or buying pre-made meals to save time there, or getting your laundry done by somebody else, or hiring an assistant. Even when you work a day job, I think one thing people forget they could do is, like, if you work a day job and you have a business on the side, hire people to do things for you. Like, hire someone to write your emails, or to create your content, or to take your sales calls, or whatever it is that makes sense for your business. Like, think about strategic ways that you can get help to save you time. Another thing, if you can't necessarily invest in help, communicate your needs to the people who will probably help you for free, or may want to trade something off with you. So communicating your needs with your partner, maybe making sure that they can also take on some of the childcare, or they can also like pick up some things around the home, or communicate with your coworkers if you're taking on too much work and they could help you out a little bit more, or even communicate with your boss. Believe it or not, people always think this is funny, but my boss knew I had a business. Like I had I had been hosting events to the point where he started to notice it on social media, or he could just tell because I was so excited that I'd be talking about it with other people at the job. And he started to support it. Like, I didn't have to really sneak around. I know for some people they have to, but I actually was fortunate. I didn't have to do those things. So I think it was because I was communicating, right? So just think about different ways that you can communicate your needs and just get some more help and support. And I think that is a big proponent on how you can achieve balance in your life.
So I think one of the resounding messages that I'm hearing just from all the interviews that I've had so far is like help. Like we need a tribe. Like you need a tribe. Whatever that looks like for you, it could be, hiring someone to help you in your business, hiring someone to help you in your home, or taking advantage of food delivery, those type of things. But at the end of the day, like you cannot do this without a tribe. We think that, oh, I can do this all by myself. If I just manage my time enough where I can do this all by myself. But what Sadé is also saying is manage your time, but also get help. Like get support in the things that you want to do. So let's talk about some of the tools and maybe even strategies, resources for us to be more productive. One of the tools that you gave me was super helpful in helping me kind of organize. And to your point, make sure that I'm working on tasks that align with what I want to accomplish. Because why am I doing this if it's not aligned with a goal? Like I'm just spinning my wheels otherwise. So what are some of the tools and strategies that people can implement like pretty much today to become more productive, to feel more organized, to feel like they're getting things accomplished in whatever timeline they set for themselves?
So one specific thing, especially for moms, is waking up before your kids wake up if you can. Like I think that is, even for me, it's just so helpful to have that quiet time in the morning. Like I really like to start my day with a morning routine just to like get my head together. So for me, like I'll wake up a little bit earlier than he wakes up. And I'll just journal. Even if it's for 10 minutes, I'll journal a couple of things. I'll meditate for 10 minutes. I'll do my devotional. It's like 5 minutes. And then I have this thing I call like becoming her, my manifesto. And pretty much it's just like an outline of what I want my life to look like. And every time I can do that in the morning, like I always have a better day. And I know that because anytime I don't do it, I'm always like a little bit disheveled. So waking up before your kids, having some time to yourself is really helpful. Also keeping that time block schedule like we talked about, but also going a little bit step deeper, having a family calendar, I think is really helpful. Like right now, obviously my son's a baby, so we don't have that many activities for him, but we did start doing like swim classes with him. And my husband will have appointments he has to go to and meetings he has to go to. And we may have doctor's appointments for either one of us. And like it can become a lot when you don't have it all in one spot. So we have a shared calendar just so we know what's going on any given day so that we're not like overlapping or missing out on things. Even if it's events like within the family or having certain days for household items to get done, all of those things can be accounted for in a shared calendar, which makes it a bit easier. I think we've talked a lot about being flexible and adaptable, but I just want to put that out there. Like that is something that's always going to be a strategy for moms. Like you have to realize that things will not always go to plan to T, but instead of stressing about it and wasting time going over in your head, like, oh, I didn't get this done. And oh, I feel so bad about it. Oh, I don't have enough time. Oh, I'm always struggling. Like none of those things are going to help you. And I know those are like our go-to thoughts and our go-to feelings because I have those same exact thoughts and those feelings all the time. But I don't know why, but this week I actually had this epiphany. I realized like, why am I even harping on those thoughts? Like they are not going to help me. I could spend time thinking and ruminating over those thoughts, or I could just maneuver, right? And I could confidently do what I got to get done and spend like my focus on those things instead. And like just that one little shift has helped me so much. Another strategy that I love, setting timers. So I love to do this in the Sansama app, which is probably the tool that Fo was mentioning. I love Sansama. I think it's a great app. I'm sure we'll have it in the show notes or something because it is just so good. It helps you to not only put all your tasks together, it also helps you to track your time. So you can literally put a projection of how much time you think something will take you. And then you can time yourself while you're doing the task. And it helps you to focus and also track how long things take for you. And it helps you to kind of categorize things so you can batch things together. So I like to put, like, for example, all my phone calls, I like to condense them, put them on like one day, or at least close together. Or if I'm filming content, I like to compile all the clips I want to get and do that all in one sitting. Like, as moms, it's really important to like get as many things done as you can in the time frame you do have. So if you have it pre-planned out and you have similar tasks put together, it takes away a lot of that switching time that our brain needs, and you can just get through something really quickly. And then one more strategy I'll give is reinforcing good habits with a reward. And I don't think as moms, we reward ourselves as much as we need to. Like, I know there's a lot of people who may be telling us, oh, you're doing a good job, you're doing a good job. And I hear that and I love it. And like, I take those compliments in, but I think it's really powerful to like reward yourself at the end of the day. So I like to treat things like watching my favorite shows on Netflix or going out with friends as a reward. So if I can get XYZ done by this day, then I get a reward by getting some time to myself, or eating my favorite ice cream or going to my favorite restaurant. Like, obviously I like to eat because I'm referencing a lot of those different things, but whatever the thing is that you enjoy, reinforce it with some rewards. And what that does for the brain, which I love this type of like nerding out on this stuff, is it reinforces the habit. So a lot of times especially when my clients are trying to build good habits, I always say like reinforce it with a reward. And then for the habits you don't want to be doing, you want to set a consequence so you remind yourself not to do those things. It's kind of like how we train children. Like, there's consequences for the actions you don't want to be doing, and there's rewards for the actions you want to be doing, and it trains your brain to do more of those things.
I've never thought to like reward myself. I would personally like to reward myself with money, but it's just not that easy. It's not that easy. So I love how you just make it so simple, no matter like what life stage you're in. I think all of these strategies are solid in that what you're telling us is to allow for flexibility, allow yourself to like give yourself grace, and just it's all flexible. And that's what I really like about how you teach time management. You are not telling me write every single little thing down in your planner and color code and like minute by minute, like your day has to be that rigid. So I appreciate that. So for the mom who was like, okay, so I've tried all this, or I've tried an app, or I've tried this, what would you say to them, and how can you support them with their time management so that they can feel like, hey, I'm able to accomplish having a career, being a mom, being a wife, having this business? How can you support them with that?
So if they were saying that, I would always first say you haven't tried everything if you haven't found something that is working for you. So that already is telling me you have a limiting belief around your time and your capacity. So we definitely should talk, because I help women to uncover those limiting beliefs around their capacity in terms of how they're using their time. I also help people to build up their self-discipline and to become consistent, whatever that looks like for them, and create systems in their life, business, work, whatever category of their life that they want help in. So that is how I help people. And one of the best ways to get help is to book a time audit call, which is where I will audit how you're currently using your time. I will ask you questions about your schedule, get into the nitty gritty, and find you 4 or more hours that you can gain back in your day. And I'm consistently able to find people like over 10 hours in a week always. So that's one of the first steps. And then from there, we can see whether or not we should work with each other, or if you should use one of my other resources that I have. But that's like the first step.
So I will be sure to put a link in the description or the show notes for you to connect with Sade to book a time. It's worth it, y'all. It is completely worth it. I remember I felt like I was in a space where my days felt a little bit chaotic. And I think most moms can relate to that, where you have a plan, or you think you have a plan in your head and things just don't go as planned, or you don't get as much accomplished as you wanted to. But this will really help you really get aligned and figure out a system that works for you and the things that you want to accomplish. All right, Sade, anything else that you want to share with these moms who are just like, girl, help?
Yes, so I also would love to gift all your listeners with my prioritize like a pro guide. So I made this template for people who struggle with staying on task or deciding what to tackle first, because I used to be like that. I believed I could multitask and do all of the things at all at the same time, which is not feasible. So this template helps you organize your day and set priorities so you can focus on what matters most and know what you should tackle first and then go from there. So I will make sure that I get that link over to Fo and that it's in the show notes, because I think that template is so helpful. I mean, it's my most downloaded template. So I know it really works. And it's what I use to prioritize like my own life.
And so where can people connect with you?
So you can connect with me on my website, which is thefireinsidesade.com, or you can find me on every social platform at Sadé Kelly _. I'm most active on Instagram. That's just like where I like to hang out. So you definitely want to follow me on Instagram because I post daily content on my stories and in my feed.
And again, folks, if you want to connect with Sadé, I will have all of her information in the show notes for you to grab the resource that she's giving, as well as for you to be able to schedule a time audit with her. Sadé, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
Alrighty, guys. I will talk to you next week.